إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله سيدي أبا القاسم يا رسول الله صل عليك الله يعلم الهدى وأشهد أنك بلغت الرسالة وأديت الأمانة ونصحت الأمة وكشفت الغمة وجاهدت لله حق جهاده. عباد الله، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and sisters, I greet you all with the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. All praise is due to Allah. We bear witness and we testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we bear witness and we testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his messenger and his slave. All salawats and salams be upon our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, upon his noble family, his righteous companions, and all those who follow his path till Allah's side. My dear brothers and respected sisters in Islam, if you remember last week, we talked about how to raise our children with Islam. And as a father myself, that I have children, and at the same time my mother is alive, it is important also to understand how important it is to respect our parents according to our faith, Islam. You know, I just read a beautiful story that happened in France, in Paris. There was this lady, Christian lady. She sent her son to an imam in Paris, and she said to her son, go inside and tell that religious leader, that imam, that I want you to become a Muslim. So she wanted for her son to become a Muslim. That kid, he went inside the mosque and he said to the imam, you know, my mother wants me to become a Muslim. And the imam said, how can you become a Muslim? Your mother, she's not Muslim herself. And the imam said, can you bring your mother inside? And the imam asked that woman, why do you want your child to be a Muslim? She said something profound. She said, I live in a place, in an apartment, and every time in the morning, I see a Muslim family. I see some men, you know, grown-ups. Every time before they leave their home, they kiss their mother's hand and her forehead, and then they go to work. So I want my son, when I grow old, I want my son to kiss my hand and to kiss my forehead and to respect me. And I saw that the only way my son can be and can respect me like that is if he becomes a Muslim. You see, my dear brothers and sisters, sometimes just a small action, it can make other people curious to learn about our beautiful faith, Islam. You know, when it comes to parents, you know, we are parents, most of us, and for those who are not, may Allah inshallah bless them with pious children, Ya Rabbal Alameen. The love of a parent towards their children, we call it al-hub al-tabi'i. It's a natural love. You know, we all love our children. That's why in the Quran, it's never mentioned anywhere to say, oh sons respect, oh parents respect your sons, you should respect your children, because that comes naturally. But when it comes to the children towards their parents, that takes a bit of effort. Now I know that you have heard so many times from us imams that what's going to happen to you if you do not respect your parents. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to tell you how honored you should feel for those who respect their parents. Things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for them in this dunya and the hereafter. One of the things, my dear brothers and respected sisters, is that it's a form of iman. It's a form of faith in Islam for those people who respect their parents. The same way that when we pray 5 daily prayers, when we give zakat, you know, our iman raises up. Also, our iman raises up if we respect our parents. And when I say respect, I don't mean for you just to give them money, because some people think that by respecting parents is because I give them money. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about to be kind towards them, and especially when they become older. You know, wallahi, being, as I said, being a parent and being a son, sometimes I analyze, because the way that we raise our children, sometimes it's very hard. But the way that we deal with our parents when they become that old age is 10 times harder. Because sometimes we might say to my child, hey, don't do this or do this. We are not allowed to do that to my parents. You can say to your son, get up, we go to the mosque. Can you say that to your father? No. Can you say that to your mother? No. So it takes extra effort. And that's when you and me will be tested. When they become that age that they get angry for no reason. Because things that they used to do their entire life, how hard they used to work, they can't do those things anymore. So they get angry, they get frustrated, and sometimes they might even say things to you, to insult you. It's not because they mean that, it's because what they go through. And this is when we get tested, my dear brothers and sisters. And one of the things that you can tell whether you have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how strong your faith is just see how you treat your parents. And that's how you know how is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even our Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, has compared respecting parents with going to jihad. You know, jihad, people say, oh my God, you're mentioning jihad. You know, in the past, when there were open wars between Muslim and non-Muslims, one of the greatest things and rewards that someone can do in Islam is to fight in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nowadays, if you want to get that reward, is if you respect your parents. A guy came from far away to our Prophet ﷺ, and imagine the way that he traveled. He didn't travel with plane or train or those things. He was walking for a long time. And when he came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, I came to fight for you, Ya Rasulullah. He said, who did you leave behind? I left my mother. Go and look after your mother. That is your jihad. So if you look after your parents, it's like fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how our Prophet ﷺ compared looking after someone's parents. Also, it's one of the great deeds in Islam. Or Prophet ﷺ said in one of the hadiths that you can find in Sahih al-Muslim, the best of the deeds is prayer, and number 2 is, he said, kindness to the parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran compared parents what? وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Believe in Allah and do not associate with Him any partners, and then be good to your parents. So Allah compared parents with worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Prophet ﷺ is comparing being good to the parents with what? With praying salah. With praying salah in its time. This is how important is respecting parents in Islam, my dear brothers and sisters. And also, if you respect your parents, you know, and whoever has parents, you can tell, you know when they're pleased with you. You know when you look after them, they pray for you. You know that every time they pray for you, as Prophet ﷺ said, the dua of the parent is not rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's Allah's blessing, because if your parents are blessing you, automatically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you. So this is very, very important. Why? Because Prophet ﷺ said, Allah's pleasure is in the pleasure of the Father, and Allah's displeasure is in the displeasure of the Father, which means in both parents. And imagine, my dear brothers and sisters, you disrespected your parents before you came to the mosque today, let's say. So Allah is displeased with you before you actually entered the mosque. What do you think? Allah will accept your prayer? Some people can pray 5 daily prayers, and sometimes outside the mosque there are completely different people. And sometimes when I go visit their parents, the things that they say about that particular person, and I say to you with full responsibility and confidence, that there's no point for you showing here that you can pray, mashallah, and you beautify your prayer, and you left your parents crying, or you never called your parents, or you never did any favor to them, or you don't even look after them. There's no point you coming here if you do not respect your parents. There's no point you coming here showing to me that you're somebody, that you're praying, when Allah is already displeased with you. May Allah protect us, Ya Rabbal Alameen. You will know this. You will know this when you will become old, when we will become old. Because as parents, as I said, the 2 fears that we have, number 1 is to raise our children properly with Islam. And number 2, the fear that we have is when we get old, are those children going to look after us? The things that we have done for them, the way that we have raised them. How difficult is for a father or a mother, knowing that, you know, they left home from overseas coming here for a better life for their kids. They work 2-3 jobs so the kids can have a better life. They educated them. They've done everything for them. So when they become old, the same children say to those parents, you don't know anything. Go to nursing home. We don't want you. Why? You're not dying already. How hard that must be, subhanAllah. And what do you think those children are going to face? What do you think? Wallahi, one thing I guarantee you, and this is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that they parents are your paradise and hell. You choose, and I choose. What do I want my parents to be for me? My paradise or my hellfire? Depends how I treat them. Depends how I respect them. Some of us, we have parents overseas. You know, we left our parents, we came here. We don't call them. Before, during your time, you told me that to call overseas, it would cost a fortune. Now you've got Viber, you've got WhatsApp, you've got this, you've got that. It costs you nothing. So why don't you call your parents? Why don't you call your family members to ask how they are? Now because you don't need them, now because you've got a better life, does that mean that you have to forget about them? Does that mean that the only time you contact them is Ramadan so you can give your zakat al-fitr? SubhanAllah. What has become of us? Wallahi, we have changed. Maybe the country or maybe all these things that Allah has blessed us with has changed us. And not for good. So my dear brothers and sisters, one of the things that our Prophet ﷺ mentioned also, and this is very, very important, hadith I want you to pay attention to. He said the punishment of all sins, if Allah wills, can be suspended until the day of judgment. You know, if you don't pray, if you don't fast, if you don't give zakat, Allah can suspend and delay the punishment. You know, when you meet, you are between you and Allah. And Allah being the most merciful, He can forgive you and me. May Allah forgive all of us. He said, except the punishment for disobedience of parents, which Allah sends in His lifetime. Any punishment, and most of the punishments will be delayed for the hereafter, except one. Those people who disrespect their parents. And I have seen them. Maybe you think that, you know, they've got a bit of money. Wallahi, they suffer within themselves. Allah has made them insecure. And Allah has made them unhappy. Why? Because the way that they have treated their parents. SubhanAllah. You know, there was a guy, and I told maybe this story here even before, when he went to buy some food, he went to a milk bar or a shopping center, or back then they didn't have those things. So he bought certain things, and then the guy who was selling those things to him, he said, how can you do, what was your wage, how much you get, and how do you divide that wage, that salary? He said, I always divide my salary into 3 parts. Always divide my salary into 3 parts. 1 part, I pay debt. 1 part, I put it in the bank. And 1/3, I use that money for myself and and for those daily things. He left. This guy who owns that shop, he said, SubhanAllah, with this small wage, he's putting in the bank, he pays debt, and he is able to survive. And look at me, I have a shop and I'm not able to do those things. So next time when the same guy came back, he said, you may be thinking, with that small wage, you're able to do all these things, whereas I'm getting more money and I'm not able to do that. He said, you misunderstood me completely. You said, when I said 1/3 of that wage I paid debt, I meant that I'm looking after my parents because they raised me. Now I'm paying that debt back because I'm looking after them. That 1/3 that I'm putting in the bank is because I'm raising my children. I'm raising them so when they grow up and I become older, they will look after me. And that 1/3 that I look after myself and my family. You understand? So my dear brothers, in the past was completely different. The way that I was raised and we were raised were completely the way that our kids are raised in this country. Wallahi, being a religious leader, I have seen good things, bad things, worse things. I have seen people that they were praying for their parents, for the father to die. He said, he's 8 years of age and my goodness, he's still this. All he was thinking of when the father dies so he can get that wealth. Why my mother is still alive? And I have seen cases here in our Muslim community here where the son or grandson went to the father being old, he said, sign here. Sign here is for your pension. And actually he signed his house, and the son and the grandson sold the house, and they kicked that father out of their home. His home, that he worked 50 years to buy that. And he was living with rent. Wallahi, I know a family here not long ago. A son bashed his father. I know the family myself. They bashed the father and the son with the mother together. They bashed the father, they kicked him out of the house. That father now, who worked all his life for those children, for that family, he lives with rent today, sharing the room with some other people. He didn't want to call the police. Because being a father doesn't matter what your kids do to you, you still try your best. What do you think is going to happen to that son who bashes his own father? Don't you think this is a sign of doomsday? SubhanAllah. To bash your own father. And I have seen that, I have witnessed that. Wallahi, it's a scary time we live in. It's a scary time. But the way that your children are going to look after you, they see the way that you treat your own parents. Do not expect your children to respect you if you didn't respect your parents. Don't expect that. Because they see. They see the way you treat your mother, the way you treat your father. They're going to end up treating you the same or even worse if you mistreat them. So this is just a reminder for myself and for all of you, my dear brothers and sisters. Don't think that you're young, you will not become old. Wallahi, inshallah, we become old. But imagine in 20 years' time what's going to happen. Why now is still okay to some extent? Because we still have parents and grandparents that are from overseas. So they brought that education here. What's going to happen by my grandkids' time? When, the parents are born and raised here, and they're born and raised here. Wallahi, I fear this for my community, for us, for Muslim community here. Because we copy a lot of what is happening here. We have become so westernized. I live now here, I'm this and I'm that. The only way we can do this, my dear brothers and sisters, is to follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This is the only way. If you want to have a happy life, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about inner peace and inner happiness, is invest in your children. Spend more time with them. Wallahi, time will come. Maybe you have less money than others, but you will say, Alhamdulillah, 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 I invested in my kids, I spent time with them, I took them to the mosque, I did this. Even if I have less, I am content because my kids are in the house with me, I know where they are. That other person might have 10 houses, 20 houses, he doesn't know where their children are. And the same parents told me, I can sacrifice these 20 houses just to bring my children back. It's too late. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we are able to respect our parents and those people who are older than us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we educate our children and bring them and raise them with Islam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we love, we respect, we advise one another only for His sake. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that we are able to feed ourselves and our kids and our families with halal and to stay away from haram. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that He's pleased with us in this world in the next. Ya Rabbil Alameen. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه سيستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.